Right, well, we gave you our tour report for the John Deere Classic, and there's another golf tournament starting this week. It kicks off tomorrow, and it's the LIV Golf Invitational in Portland. So, Elk, cool venue today, by the way. I really like this, sitting in the pink car, chilling out, laid back at the golf course.
Got me some new seat covers, pink and black. My wife said, "Are you sure this is what you want me to order?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm positive."
Yeah. She doesn't need to ask you that question now.
No. After 30 years, really.
I know. Right. So LIV Golf, I mean, the big changes compared to the last event are the addition of some, really big names and names that are a huge draw. We're talking Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Abraham Ancer, Pat Perez, Carlos Ortiz. I mean, there's a whole host of new blood, so to speak, on the tour for LIV, and they've all given their press conferences over the last 2 days, which have really got a lot of people stirred up again.
Yeah, and the tour has a big problem, and the big problem is that the LIV Golf Tour has probably 4 of the biggest draws in golf. Out of maybe four of the top 8 have gone. So what I mean by a draw is, this week at the John Deere, they were talking about Daniel Berger being the headliner for that event. And if I played the tour for 30 years, Dustin Johnson signs up for the Houston Open, it kind of seals off the deal. I mean, that makes it very popular right out of the gate. Bryson DeChambeau, he secures the field if you have an event. Brooks Koepka, he secures it. And of course, Phil Mickelson. We may not ever see another guy for a long time. I think Rory McIlroy is the only guy that has a chance to be, 46 wins with 8 majors or 6 majors, whatever Phil has. I think it's 6. On the other side of the ledger, the other draws that are left on the tour are Rory, Jordan Spieth, and JT. Mm-hmm. And the problem was noted by a couple of my friends on the tour where you're not going to see any of those guys. I mean, they were great when they were talking about, the tour, and I support the tour, and that's fine. But you're not going to see them for a while. I mean, they're all going to go to England. They're going to play the Open Championship. They may take 5 weeks off. And who's going to carry the star power? And that's the real problem that the tour has, is they're losing. I don't care what anyone says. They don't say, oh, they've lost all the terrible personalities over to LIV. No, they haven't. They've lost the biggest draws that the tour has.
Yeah, I guess the two sides of the argument are these are guys who maybe aren't playing their best golf right now. So Bryson obviously had surgery, took some time off. When he did come back, there wasn't anything spectacular there. Patrick Reed, I mean, has his green jacket, but his form has dipped. Same with Brooks Koepka. I mean, 4-time major champion, but we haven't seen that kind of major spark from him, and we know how he feels about playing in these normal PGA Tour events. So there's the talent argument that these guys' form seems to have taken a dip, but there's no denying that they're big names. And we talked about this before with Bryson when he got all that speed and all that power that people wanted to see it. And he was like the biggest draw to the game in a long, long time. And these are big personalities. I mean, Pat Perez, big personality, right? His game is he's not a top 50 world golfer, but big personality. So people want to follow along and watch him.
Yeah, and I'm talking about, Arnold Palmer wasn't at the top of his game at the end of his career either, but he put fannies in the seats. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that secure big crowds that come to a regular tour event. That's what I mean when I say draws. Yes, Bryson, he's worth. I'm not a huge Bryson DeChambeau guy, but I'm definitely going to go over and watch him hit a ball if I'm at a tournament for sure. And I'm going to make sure I get there on the par 5 where he's going to take a big swing. Yeah. So, I was on the phone with, some interesting, talking about LIV this week. I was on the phone with some of the caddies, one in particular, the caddies for Mike Hartford, who caddies for Pat Perez. Mm-hmm. He said, Elk, 5 days ago, I made a call. I told them what my, plane reservation was preferred. He said 6 minutes later, I got an email back with the flight. I've got my free hotel room attached to that. He said, I've had breakfast with my player and his coach every morning since I've been up here. Okay. I got invited to the Pro-Am party last night. He goes, it's a different scene. And Pat Perez alluded in the press conference yesterday. He said, look, I'm 36. I feel like I just won the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, you can't begrudge a guy like Pat Perez, I guess. I mean, I'm not judging any of them, but Pat, he paid 35 weeks last year to won $1.3 million. A lot of money, of course. Took him a long time to get it, but he's going to be probably more like guaranteed $4 or $5 million a year for the next 4 years. I mean, it's hard for him at 46 to pass that up.
Yeah.
He also noted that he doesn't believe that he should be banned from the Champions Tour. He said in 4 years from now, I'll be 50. If anything, I help the Champions Tour. And you may say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, they've pulled him out right now of all the rankings in the tour. So the next guy that turns 50 will go over Pat, and they'll get on that might not have got on. So he's like, what's 50 got to do with anything?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, good point. And that's all an unknown right now. And yesterday it was Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka and Pat doing their press conference together, and Patrick was the only one who said that he had resigned from the PGA Tour. The other two hadn't. But we know that as soon as they tee it up tomorrow, they're going to be immediately banned from the tour. So when Pat opened up his piece, he said that he missed the birth of his son, and it's because in the FedEx Cup standings, the number he was at, he got into the first of the playoff events, had to play well to make it to the second, so he had no choice. I mean, he had to play to be able to move up, which he did in the end, but he said forever he'll have to explain to his son that he wasn't there for his birth. And you know me, that gets me a little bit. So there's the lifestyle. And Pat was very open. Both Pat and Matthew Wolf yesterday, I thought, were the ones that were open about the financial gain and the benefit and how that's going to kind of impact their lives compared to what they were getting on the PGA Tour. And, if that's their reason, like, I'm all for them coming out and saying it. The one thing I don't like, and I've said this from the start, is when I feel that the guys aren't prepared to answer the tough questions. And the flip side of that might be, well, does everyone expect them to have to answer the tough questions? But, they were asked about if they had any concerns about where the money came from. And Pat just said no. Like, nope. And Koepka said, we're here to play golf. That's it. And that's, again, the two sides of that argument. Should they have to answer those questions? Or because they've taken this money, do they have a responsibility to justify it?
Yeah, and it's true what they're saying, even though people hate to hear it. They will be able to travel less. They will, if they desire, to be with their families more. I took a year off the tour when my daughter was at the last year of her high school. I was 48, 49 anyway. I took the whole year off just to hang out at home and be with her for her senior year, just because I wanted to do that. So it is true that they're going to make a ton of money. He said the vibe's different out there. They got music on the driving range. The golf course, by the way, is no pushover. He told me a lot about Pumpkin Ridge this week. They've taken 2 of the par 5s and turned them into par 4s. Pat says, I can barely reach these greens in 2. He said, this is a serious, serious golf course this week. So they're not making the golf courses easy, Diane. It's not a pushover in that regard. They're keeping the golf course. And the one we saw in England was very difficult in places as well. And that's why I think it turned off some people, that the scoring wasn't so good. But there's no doubt that there's a lot of star power at this one in Portland, Diane. I don't know what the crowd will be like, but I've seen the schedule. It's a jam-packed schedule. I've had a lot of people calling me, asking me if I can get them into either Doral or to Trump Bedminster. They want to go to these concerts. They want to see all this stuff. And so there is some interest, Diane, in my world, of people wanting to go to a LIV event. Okay.
A lot of what I am hearing and seeing is on Twitter, and I found that the golf media, like the journalists, are the ones that are very against it. And they're very pro PGA Tour and anti-LIV and anti the Saudi Public Investment Fund. But then I'll read the comments from fans who just want to bet on golf and watch golf. And a lot more of them seem to be like either, well, listen, who cares? Like, let them play golf. We just want to be entertained and we want to see this. So it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers are like tomorrow morning, or because it's in Portland. Obviously, I'm East Coast, so it'll be a 3-hour time difference. But it'll be good to check out what the numbers are on the stream compared to what they were for the first event in London.
Yeah, I'll be watching, of course. I did last time as well. And, particularly I responded to your Twitter feed when the DP Tour came out and said that they did the big deal with the PGA Tour, and they were going to give 10 PGA Tour cards to the top 10 players on the European Tour, the DP Tour. And my thought immediately, I tweeted back to you, did you think that was a good idea to lose the top 10 of the European Tour? And I thought back years ago when I first started my career on European Tour. I played 1 year, and Seve Ballesteros, a young Ballesteros, a young Wisdom, a young Bernard Langer, a young Sandy Lyle. Would you want to lose all those players the first year they came on, all the superstars? And what is your knee-jerk reaction? I know I put you on the spot by asking you that. I didn't really put you on the spot. I just made a comment. Do you want to lose the Russell Knox, if he made the top 10 his first year from Scotland playing on DP Tour, to the Tour? I mean, it seems like the DP Tour doesn't want him to go to LIV, but they're willing to let him go to the Tour.
Yeah, and they obviously have this allegiance together now, and they just signed a 13-year deal, and we're going to see it next week, obviously, with the Genesis Scottish Open, which is a co-sanctioned event between the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour. So you're seeing a better field, obviously, because more guys are going over because they're going to make FedEx Cup points and obviously get things ready for the Open at St Andrews. But I thought of Matt Fitzpatrick. He was like the perfect example for me, because if this had been in effect when he was playing the European Tour at the time, he would have been over with his PGA Tour card a lot sooner. As it was, he had to kind of wait and do it the longer way. And now we look at Matt, who just went on to win the US Open, and is someone that we're talking about every single week. So I think for the individuals, it's great. It doesn't do much for the argument that the DP World Tour is like a substandard, almost like a Corn Ferry Tour. And they've kind of defended that for a long time and said, no, we're not. But the way that this is going, it seems that they don't really have much of a leg to stand on. And it's what you said, that they don't really want their players going to LIV. So they're in bed with the PGA Tour to try and keep people from going to LIV Golf.
Yeah, and it seems like the system that they've just created is going to cherry pick the best players from the DP Tour straight over to the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Back to LIV, I was talking to Mike Harford about equipment. How does it work on the tour? Do you have equipment trucks and so on and so forth? And he says they really have one big truck and one guy that does everything. And my friend knew him, and he said, how much did you have to pay for that credential? And he said, well, I didn't have to pay anything. He said, well, how much does the tour charge you for that credential? And he said, I didn't know this, Diane, but the tour charges $1,800 for those guys that are the equipment guys to be on site for the year. And a big company like TaylorMade, I think the first one he said is $1,800, the next one's $700, and you might have 30 assistants. It all adds up, but the tour is making money at every swing. And of course, LIV is not that business model, but I thought that was a piece of information that I didn't know.
I learned something that I didn't know this week in relation to the caddies as well. And I was doing something for the Caddie network that you can follow on social media, and they've got access to all the caddies. They're joined by the winning caddy every week. And I did not know that the winning caddy, or all the caddies from LIV, they are paid independently from what the player makes. So it's not like Charles Schwartzel won $4.75 million and he gives his caddy like 10% or whatever their agreed cut is. LIV pays the caddies separately. So I'm sure the players, obviously, if they have a great relationship, are gonna like give the caddy a little bit of extra money. But if they didn't want to, they didn't have to. Apparently, LIV Golf pays the caddies.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I was talking to Pat Perez. He called me last night after his press conference. I laughed. You sent me the link, and you laughed.
I laughed out like a lot.
A couple of times. And, he was talking to Greg Norman yesterday. And, of course, Pat's giddy with excitement. He's on the he's on the 4 aces teams, which is Dustin Johnson, Pat Perez, Patrick Reed, and Taylor Gooch. I mean, he's got the best team. He's on the best team at $750,000 a piece to win this week on that team, and he's probably going to be on DJ's team every week. That was kind of the deal he had. You know, I don't know what to make of this, but, you know, for me, I have a close friend of mine that's on it, and I'm just seeing sort of, you know, obviously Matthew Wolf, all the pressure has come out of his face. You know, he's had a lot of problems with himself, with his game. And, you know, yeah, I mean, they can have music on the driving range now. It doesn't matter. I did hear one other rule that's different from the USGA rule was if you break a club on LIV, you are not allowed to replace it. Which I thought, well, I don't know why that's important, but I guess I don't think any player is going to matter if they have to play with 13 clubs because the result's going to be very much the same either way.
That's interesting. I watched Matt Wolf's press conference and I tweeted this afterwards that, oh God, who cares about golf? That guy has been very vocal in his mental health struggles that he's had on and off the course. And he said yesterday that he was the happiest that he had felt in a long time and that he was catching himself smiling all day long being on site at the tournament. So amazing. Good for him. Like, people give you a bit of a hard time. Yeah,
I think it's the stress of knowing that you're not making a cut. You're not, you're guaranteed income. You know what your schedule is. There's no stress. You know, there is a lot of stress on the tour. Yeah, make a lot of money, etc. I lived it for 30 years, and I'm happy not to do it anymore. And I could be. I just don't want to do it. And I know what that stress is. But my decision was mine. But I like being at home. You know, my wife says, "Hey, if they would have offered us a bunch of this money, what would we have done?" I said, we probably would have looked at it pretty close.
Well, it's interesting for you because you're friends with Greg Norman. And now, as you say, Pat Perez, really good friend of yours. He's involved. Michael Hartford is caddie. You obviously, you know, DJ. I mean, you have a relationship with a lot of these guys. So it's interesting. And everyone can make their own choice. We've kind of said this all along. So for like Matt Wolf and Pat Perez, it seemed like it was a very easy choice for them to make. Pat said he felt like he'd won the lottery. Bryson said that and Abraham Answer said the same. They wrote out a list of the pros and cons, and the pros really started to outweigh the cons. So everyone's different. You know, everyone's at a different stage in their life and has different priorities, and they can make that decision themselves. But I'm going to be watching tomorrow morning. I'm excited to see the course. I'm excited to see how these teams perform. People keep asking me for my top picks, and I keep giving Pat Perez as one of my top picks. I think he was 22-1. And I said that with Pat, I think we're going to see like an invigorated Pat who's excited to be out there after 20 plus years of doing the same thing and really grinding to get results. I think he's going to have a real like weight off his shoulder, and we're going to see Pat like a kind of new Pat.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, the course is difficult. I think it's going to suit the guys this week that hit it far. DJ could be a threat this week. Brooks, you know, I'm not sure if his game's up to it or not. Not sure. He probably was the one guy there that sort of why he's won 4 majors. You know, you probably think he's probably got north of 100 million to do this, something in the film money. Yeah. You know, they pay up front. Could you imagine getting a check and you're sent to you for 50 or 100? I mean, whatever it is.
It's like crazy.
So he's going to be relaxed, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Does that suit his game when he's relaxed? Because he plays really good when he's half mean and upset about something. So it'll be interesting to see what a happy Brooks Koepka does. Maybe he'll blitz it. Who knows?
He wasn't happy in his press conference. He was quite mean and combative yesterday in his press conference. And I saw a little montage that someone had put together of just all the scathing comments and the kind of whatever attitude. And I mean, that's kind of him now, and he kind of plays up to it a little bit more. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's a difference in how these guys perform on the course and, you know, how it affects their life overall.
Yeah, so what are we at now? We have 48 players each week. 8 of them get moved out each week. So there's 40 guys that are looking for contracts, and we've probably got about 20 guys that are banned from the tour now, maybe 24, 25. I'm sure we're going to see. Do you think that number will creep up to 30? I mean, I think the tour, like I said, Diane, you know, they've lost four of the biggest stars the game has seen in a long while. Mm-hmm. Stars meaning you can say what you want. These guys if they walk to the first tee at any tournament on this tour, a bunch of people are going to see them hit it.
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth, JT, and Rory are the other three left. John Rahm. Now. John Rahm is 4 for sure. I forgot that. So to me, right now, it's 4 and 4. I don't think they're going to lose any of those 4 off the tour, but all these other guys, Ortiz, Abraham Ancer, you know, Patrick Reed, they all add to the story, and it's LIV's not going anywhere. They're going to be there. The next event's up at Trump's course in Bedminster. I talked to Perez. He's already spoken to the ex-president. I mean, if you want to just throw in some more gasoline on the fire, President Trump's going to be there in the next one, and that'll even be more dramatic. So, you know what, Diane? All I can tell you is you and I are going to one of them real soon.
I do want to. I really want to, because I want to see what it's like actually being there and not just following along with the stream. So, okay, well, as you say, there's still rumours surrounding a lot of guys. Are they going to go? Are they not going to go? I mean, one guy that's talked about is Jason Kokrak, who's part of the Secret Golf team, who's sponsored by Golf Saudi, and we haven't had any announcement regarding him yet. So there's a few that there's rumours. Ricky Fowler, obviously. There's rumours circulating, so we will have
we might see some more change after the final major of the season at St Andrews for some players that may be towards the end of their career, whether it's players like Adam Scott or Kokrak that have not played at St Andrews that don't want to be suspended. Who knows? I wouldn't have I don't have the guts to call them and ask them. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want them to call me. So We'll see in time enough.
Okay. All right then. Well, as we say, there's always a lot to talk about regarding LIV Golf, but don't forget about the John Deere Classic as well. And we have our tour report with our full tournament preview and all of our picks online as well. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about once Saturday draws to an end and somebody's won $4 million.
My D player Steve Stricker withdrew from the John Deere. I am got big problems. I have to go back to the app. I got to go back to the algorithm. I got to look to see who my D player is. I'm in a panic mode, Diane. I've got to pick 3 different ones because I got a bunch of different teams.
Didn't you say Wesley Bryan was someone you were looking at?
Wesley Bryan's I put on one, but I'm not going to tell you the other one I picked.
Okay.
Because you'll steal it.
Okay. By the way, I just checked a little while ago. I finished second last week in one of the games. I didn't even know that.
I saw that. I was going to tell you, but
you didn't want me to brag.
You're like the LIV players. It's just always coming in, and you're not worried about it.
Yeah, give me the money.